Some developments in the case against Ghislaine Maxwell. She'll appear before the court in an arraignment today to decide her bail status. So her attorneys, as we covered yesterday, have requested that she be released out on bail. And inside that was buried, of course, that they said the attorneys were like, oh, she poses no flight risk, even though, she's got 3 passports and she's the citizen of a country which doesn't extradite its own citizens. A little bit of a flight risk to me. More importantly, though, was the allegation from her that she said she would not be able to be prosecuted because of that non-prosecution agreement with Epstein back in 2007.
Right.
So the government responded in its own basically saying, no, you can't release this person on bail. There are a lot of great nuggets in here. Okay, so let's start out with the Daily Mail. They released some of the details there about what happened. So Ghislaine Maxwell, when she tried to flee, when the FBI came to her compound, they came to the compound, the gates to the compound remained locked. They had to break that open. When they knocked on the door, she peeked outside, saw them, ran away, tried to hide from the FBI. They had to break down the door. And when they got in there, they found her cell phone wrapped in tinfoil to, quote, avoid detection. Now, look, as they put it, which I thought was hilarious, a misguided attempt to avoid detection.
And if you're trying to hide from the FBI, you're going to have to do better than this, by the way.
Tinfoil. That's one of the dumbest things that I've ever seen. But what they basically show is that she went to great lengths in order to make sure that she wasn't being found. Her lawyers were like, oh, she was hiding from the media. No. So according to the FBI as well, what they show there is that, let's throw the Maxwell brothers, G2C up there. Maxwell's brother has, with the FBI, says hired former members of the British military to defend her at the compound. She never left. They ran all of her errands for her. Of course, I mean,
that's funny.
Look, she is British. She's from the UK, or her father is. But I mean, you have to look at her involvement with Prince Andrew and with the Crown and wonder if something is going on here. Again, Maxwell's family was supposed to be allegedly broke after Robert Maxwell died. I mean, she moved to the United States. That's why she came here to launch her career as a socialite. That's why she grafted onto Epstein in the first place. So all of these little nuggets, everything that we're learning, she hasn't filed a financial disclosure form yet with the court, which we're going to learn a lot about her if she chooses to do so, right? She's got all of these bank accounts. Every time they refer to her finances, they refer to it as opaque, but they also revealed she's got a Swiss bank account with millions of dollars, multiple Swiss bank accounts with millions of dollars. So the more I learn about this, I'm just like, this whole thing is crazy.
Yeah. I was stunned when she was here in the U.S. to start with.
I know. Yeah.
I guess she really believed herself to be sort of above the law, that they weren't going to be able to find her, that they weren't going to come after her, that she would ultimately be protected. That's the only thing. That's the only explanation I can imagine. You're going to run and hide from the FBI in your compound? How is that going to work out? What do you think what is your plan here? What is your escape plan? The idea, look, if they were to let her off on bail, that would be the most insane thing that ever. I can't imagine that is remotely a possibility, because you're talking about someone who is very well connected, who is very wealthy, who has multiple passports. If you were to make a checklist of the highest flight risk type of elements, she would have absolutely all of them.
Yeah, the government was like, you're saying that anonymous people are willing to put up your bail, and as collateral, they're going to include a piece of property in the UK. They're like, we don't have jurisdiction over that. We're not going to just accept that as property. So the government's case against Maxwell also revealed here, this is what I was very concerned about, obviously, about that non-prosecution agreement like I was talking about earlier. They say, let's throw the SDNY tweet up there on the screen. What it reveals there actually is that they are not party to that non-prosecution agreement, that according to past case law, actually, that the non-prosecution agreement is only binding between the Southern Florida office and Epstein's lawyers. So even if she was covered under that, and they make the case that she isn't, that even if she was, that it does not bar the Southern District of New York from pursuing charges against her. And then we also learned, actually later, including in the indictment, in this bail response, is that they also have begun hearing from other victims. So we have a Daily Caller story that details a little bit about this. But new victims have actually stepped forward with evidence against Maxwell, according to these prosecutors, in the week that she's been behind bars, just based on the public attention to the case. So things are really beginning to turn against Maxwell here. And many of the pieces about the British military, about her finances, her web of lies with Epstein, and much of this is starting to click together. So we're going to learn more at that arraignment later today.
Yeah, it sounds like the floodgates may be starting to open here. And you can understand, like, now that there's an actual chance of justice, and you have this person who is actually being held and charged, that there's a sense of, okay, we can tell our stories now and someone may actually listen and may actually have an impact. So not surprising to see that development either. But interesting stuff. We'll, of course, continue to cover it here. We'll have more Rising for you after this.